Coming up on ncIMPACT, local economies benefit when companies invest in them and hire more employees. We explore how some communities are getting creative in attracting and leveraging big business.
ncIMPACT is a PBS North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government. Funding for ncIMPACT is made possible by
changing the course of people's lives. That's the impact UNC Health and the UNC School of Medicine work to deliver every day. Our 40,000 team members across the state of North Carolina are committed to caring for you, our patients and communities, as well as educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. Individually, we can do a little, but collectively, we can do a lot to create impact.
Hello and welcome to ncIMPACT. I'm Anita Brown-Graham. Communities across our state are constantly competing for global talent and investment. North Carolina is reported to be the second best state for business. That's according to 2021 rankings by CNBC. But challenges loom to ensure widespread economic growth and to build a resilient workforce in communities all across the state. ncIMPACT's Evan Howell introduces us to two business leaders who share what attracted them to North Carolina.
Are we? Is the temperature thing still? Is it still working out okay?
Martin Meeson looks at building a business outside his home country in the same way he plans his many family vacations around the world.
For me, it's about managing the risk, but really making sure that when we're doing these activities that involve risk, we're planning for success.
Meeson is leading the effort toward a $2 billion clinical antibody manufacturing plant in Holly Springs by 2025. He says it wouldn't have been possible without the active support of local government.
Having this engagement early on to make sure that we do that really positively and in a way that we blend our energies with the community energies is important. This has all gone virtual now.
Exactly. He says that willingness of local leaders to take the long view is important, but other factors played a role as well on where to break ground.
When you're going building a facility of this size, you do need quite a lot of acreage, so finding suitable plots is a little bit trickier.
Meeson says identifying the local talent pool was the critical factor in deciding on the Triangle area over other locations such as Boston.
We've got this great community of people who want to be involved in life sciences. They understand the value of the work that we do here.
Bob Radigan is CEO of Merz Aesthetics, part of Germany-based Merz Pharma Group. The company makes the anti-wrinkle product Xeomin. And Radigan says they chose Raleigh to be the home for their global headquarters, in part because of how it would be easier to attract potential employees.
I think is very reassuring for people that are moving into the area for the first time because they recognize if their plans in the future should change for whatever reason, they have career opportunities in and around the Triangle that they could tap into versus requiring a relocation to a city they may not want to live in.
Got out of the car the other day.
For Meeson, he says the readiness of the local community to work together was the key reason for the move, but says achieving success requires a bit of vision from both sides.
To do something in life, in the world, there's an element of risk associated with it, isn't there? Anything you're going to do, I suppose often the only risk in life is inaction. Because if you don't do anything, then you don't experience anything.
Meeson says there's a lot of work to be done between now and when the Holly Springs project is finished, but says the journey is what it's all about. For ncIMPACT, I'm Evan Howell.
Joining me now is Christopher Chung. Christopher is the CEO of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. Christopher, great to be with you. You're talking to business leaders every day. In your conversations, what are they telling you are the main reasons why they're interested in investing in North Carolina?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Anita. It's nice to see you. I think North Carolina gets on the list for a lot of companies, primarily because of the talent proposition that we offer here in this state. You heard in that opening segment just how important workforce and talent are for a lot of these companies that are thinking about where their next growth location is going to be. And while the current labor market means it's not necessarily easy to find talent anywhere, there are certainly places where it is considerably easier to do so. And I think North Carolina gets on the list of so many companies because we have so much more of a talent pool to offer to expanding companies. You layer onto that our cost of business, our cost of living, the fact that we're perceived so well as a business climate by publications like CNBC, like Forbes magazine, and I think all of those things combine to make this a really attractive option for companies to consider.
So that's the good news. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges in North Carolina, and not just challenges to recruiting new businesses, but challenges to expanding the ones that already exist.
Well, as I said, workforce right now we are finding at probably any point more in my 25 years of doing this type of work, workforce has really been a big challenge in terms of how are we going to continue to find qualified workers, how will we continue to train and upskill them for what we need them to do. Real estate availability also actually is one of those impeding factors for a lot of our actually more rural communities across the state. You heard Martin Meeson talk about how you need a lot of acreage to put together for these large industrial operations. In North Carolina, whether it's industrial parks or available industrial buildings, as we continue to go after some of these manufacturing firms, that available high-quality real estate, that actually is a bit more challenging in some pockets of North Carolina than others, and that's actually one of those limiting factors for those communities to land that type of new investment.
Christopher, let's talk about the talent proposition for a moment. As more and more companies say you can live anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, and work for them, how does that affect our competitiveness?
Well, I think it's one of those things where quality of life becomes that much more important, right? I mean, there's certain industries that are just not going to be able to offer that work from anywhere proposition, right? I mean, if it's manufacturing or point of sale retail, that's at least right now, no one's figured out a good way to do that. But for some of these knowledge-based industry sectors, professional services, technology, research and development, if that really can be a remote work from anywhere type model, then it becomes about how do we attract that talent so that even if their job is virtual, they choose to live in North Carolina and they choose to spend their disposable income in North Carolina. They choose to educate their children in North Carolina. At that point, it becomes much more a play about what's our infrastructure like, what is our educational system like, what is the quality of life, quality of place, amenities, all of those sorts of things that we're interested in when we're choosing a place to live. That becomes much more the emphasis versus some of these business climate considerations that a company would think about when it's choosing where to expand. Sorry, my earpiece keeps slipping out.
Thank you, Christopher.
Sure.
One of the largest businesses to announce investment in North Carolina recently is Apple. The tech giant has plans for a $1 billion campus and engineering hub right in Research Triangle Park. ncIMPACT's David Hurst takes a look at how the deal came together and the impact it will have. David, what'd you find out?
Well, Anita, North Carolina missed out on a big Apple expansion in 2018, but state leaders tell me they knew there would be another opportunity to attract the tech giant. Sure enough, in the summer of 2021, Apple announced plans to build a campus in the Research Triangle Park. Those involved in attracting Apple believe community collaboration was one of the keys in getting the company to expand here. With barbecue in his blood, Jake Wood wanted to open a restaurant to share his family's tradition.
We want to create those memories and those moments when people take a bite of our food that just like wow, you can remember that when you close your eyes 20 years down the road. Put some sides on there for you.
Lawrence Barbecue, named after Woods' grandparents, opened in the summer of 2020. You can find it at Boxyard RTP, a dining and retail space located in the heart of the Research Triangle Park.
We're proud to be right in the middle of what seems to be like the most hustling, bustling area on the up and up here anywhere around.
About 1 month before he officially opened his doors, Apple announced plans to open a campus in the Research Triangle Park. The more than $1 billion campus and engineering hub is expected to create thousands of jobs in the Triangle over the next 5 years.
Apple coming and the jobs that they are going to offer is going to lift boats for everyone, not only just the people who are working there, but surely they will have a presence here with their corporate citizenship, their care for the environment, as well as the talent and workforce development that they will offer to our residents.
Wake County Commission Chair Matt Calabria was one of the recruiters who helped convince Apple to invest in the Triangle. He says Apple was impressed with the region's access to talent and how Wake County and Durham County work together.
It's really critically important that we have such a collegial and collaborative relationship, not only because of what that provides, but also companies see that. They see when we're getting along, they see stability.
Calabria says Apple has also committed to a sizable investment in the community. The tech giant says they will invest millions of dollars in education across the state to help train the workforce it needs for jobs. Shaw University, who already has a partnership with Apple, is expected to benefit from the company's investment. Shaw president Dr. Paulette Dillard says Shaw will receive devices, training, and consultation.
And then the idea that they would be in RTP, you started dreaming about all kinds of possibilities.
Along with the investment, Dr. Dillard is optimistic that Apple will work with local HBCUs to help build a more diverse workforce in tech.
All of the exciting things that are happening in the Triangle makes it a place that people want to stay, but everybody needs to be able to participate equally, in all of this amazing opportunity.
And it's an amazing opportunity for business owners like Wood, who hopes future Apple employees will work Lawrence Barbecue into their lunch plans.
We feel like we're in a really good groove right now, and we're going to be here for a long time. And hopefully in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we can think about store number 2.
The Apple deal will cost the state more than $845 million in tax incentives promised over the next 39 years. But state leaders say Apple's investments are expected to generate $1.5 billion annually in benefits for North Carolina.
That's a lot of money. Thank you, David. Joining me now is Adrian Cole. Adrian's the president of the Raleigh Chamber. Let's start with the big question on people's mind. Adrian, what kind of impact do you think this new Apple campus will have on the region?
Thanks, Anita, and it's always a privilege to be able to speak with you, so thank you for having me. The Apple project announced 3,000 jobs and $1 billion in investment, but that doesn't begin to touch on the indirect and induced jobs that will spin off from the project and the impact to vendors and suppliers and others. Apple has a real commitment to women and minority-owned businesses and has already been reaching out to those companies and vendors and suppliers in the market to understand who they are and who might help them in the build-out of their campus. Add to that the additional payroll to the state and tax revenue to the state. The impact is going to be significant, and I predict far beyond what was initially announced.
Well, I love that you've pointed out that it's not just the macro impact, but really the thoughtfulness around equitable growth that makes this such a big deal for the region. Attracting a company like Apple is a team sport. It takes a really big team.
Right.
What advice would you give community leaders out there who are wondering what they need to do, how they need to work together to attract jobs and investments in their regions?
It's a great question. Collaboration is key. This is a team sport, and economic development at its very best is a team sport. Start building those relationships now. Build them with your academic partners, with partners like the PBS NC, with your county commission and your city council, and other nonprofits in the area who might be able to help be part of your team in addressing the needs of a company. I often say that economic development projects are giant jigsaw puzzles, and you're trying to put all the pieces together to win the project for your community, and no one person can do that alone. You have to have a foundation of trust and collaboration to put your community's best foot forward. The other thing I would say is don't worry about the credit. When you win, there will be plenty of credit to go around. And so don't be as focused on that. In fact, be quick to acknowledge your colleagues. And the company will appreciate that too, because they will know that they're coming to a community that's going to roll up their sleeves and work with them long beyond the announcement. My team and I talk about the fact that getting to the announcement's just part of the job. The rest of it is supporting the company as they become a part of the fabric of your community, and that takes teamwork.
Adrian, that is very good advice. Thank you. North Carolina is growing, but that growth is largely happening in our urban areas. The migration is no mystery. People move where the jobs are. A new effort called Carolina Core brings global attention to 17 counties in the core of our state. Melody Hunter-Pillion spoke with economic development leaders about what they see as a real game changer.
Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill have long promoted the Triangle region. easily recognized by industries around the world. In the Piedmont, Carolina Core centers economic development promotion around a corridor, US 421, which serves urban and rural areas. Carolina Core creates a multi-community partnership with a global brand.
We want our brand to be seen by more people in more places.
With its world headquarters in downtown Greensboro, Contour Brands, makers of the iconic Lee and Wrangler fashions, is also showcasing North Carolina's larger Piedmont region, as it has never been showcased, as the Carolina Core.
As you think about investment in the Carolina Core and you think about investment in Greensboro, get in on the front end. This is really starting to take hold, and as we come out of this really difficult period from a pandemic standpoint, I'm starting to see the seeds of a lot of great things happening here.
Contour Brands President and CEO Scott Baxter says attracting more industry to the region is good for his company and its growing roster of employees.
It makes the healthcare stronger, it makes the schools stronger, it brings people with ideas and opportunities into the community that want to help and bring those ideas to better the community.
Carolina Core is the next big engine for economic growth in North Carolina.
For big industries like Contour and smaller ones, it's not about city boundaries when they select a location to bring people and capital.
A company looking for a specific location can't rely on just what's in that city or even in that county. The workforce is regional, and they need folks to come from around the region.
Picture the larger Piedmont as the heart or core of the state, with Highway 421 as the main artery flowing 120 miles from west of Winston-Salem east through Fayetteville. That rich industrial lifeline circulates all the assets industries need for vitality.
And the Carolina Core is the underpinning that gives us a platform to bring ourselves together and to focus our efforts on, in this case, economic vibrancy by telling the collective story rather than the individual story per community.
The Carolina Core motto, a win for one is a win for all. The all-for-one approach scores with Marvin Price, Executive Vice President of Economic Development for the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce.
Well, success in the Carolina Core for me is when Winston-Salem wins, when High Point wins, when Asheboro wins, when Lexington wins, when Rockingham County, Chatham County, or Sanford wins. In Greensboro, of course, but one of the reasons why that's a win for us is because a rising tide floats all boats, right?
The Carolina Core boasts 4 megasites, rare in the Southeast. The megasites offer advanced manufacturers room to grow.
So now you've come into the lease side.
For Scott Baxter, he says this momentum will only grow as more companies buy in to the Carolina Core mission.
It just strengthens the whole, and that's why it's so important for us to always try to attract investment in Greensboro, in the Carolina Core.
The proof is in the numbers. In the 3 years since Piedmont Triad Partnership launched Carolina Core, the area netted almost half of their 20-year goal of 50,000 new jobs.
Let's bring back our experts, Christopher and Adrian, and joining us for our ncIMPACT Roundtable is Scott Hamilton. Scott's the president of the Golden Leaf Foundation. Scott, let's start with you.
Thank you.
We've seen a lot of footage on great things happening in the state. You are focused on formerly tobacco-dependent and rural communities. Tell us how our rural communities are faring in economic development.
Well, there's a lot of challenges that are ahead of rural communities, and there's some perceived challenges. And those communities need to look at what are their strengths and opportunities in that strategy for them to be able to move forward and collaborate. We've had conversation about collaboration today. And it is being sure that folks are on a strategy to be able to move that community together. And that community may not just be a single community, it could be a couple of counties, a region, to be able to move that together. And collaboration is bringing everybody to the table and talking about it and being agreeable and being a part of a team to make that successful. But if you sit around the table and you see the folks that are always around the table, or everybody looks the same around the table, we're not bringing everybody to the table to be a part of that strategy to truly make that successful.
Well, it sounds as though the ingredient that's working in urban areas will work in rural areas in terms of bringing this team, the right team, together. Tell us a little bit about the Golden Leaf Foundation and what are you doing to support communities as they seek ways to build their economy?
Anita, thank you. The Golden Leaf Board about a year ago approved a new long-term strategic plan that will focus in on 3 priority funding areas. And that's job creation and economic opportunity, workforce and talent development, and agriculture and agribusiness. And looking at the opportunities that are centered around those 3 priority funding areas. We talk about the need for talent and workforce. So funding for community colleges and being sure that there's a pipeline for the employers that are either in the rural communities or in the more metro areas. Golden Leaf in 2017 funded a program at Surrey Yadkin Works that is a partnership between the public school systems and the community college and the private sector to assure that there's a clear path and a pipeline for students going through the high school to the community college, that when they come out of that they have the skills that they need to be employable for those businesses that are a partnership with Surrey Yadkin Works.
So Adrian, I want you to pick up on this for me because we've talked a lot about big business, 3,000 jobs coming from Apple. But small businesses matter too, and what are we doing to support the growth of the small businesses that exist in North Carolina?
Such a great question and such a great point, Anita. You know, there are something like 934,000 small businesses in North Carolina, and they make up the vast majority of employers. So we absolutely cannot forget about our small businesses. At the Raleigh Chamber, we work with 1- and 2-person startups and traditional small businesses all the way up to IBM and everyone in between. And we work to support them. And that takes different forms. It might be providing information about how to scale or grow a business. It might be providing wraparound services for new companies that are just starting up. We also offer a Pathways program for small businesses that are starting, have gone through the launch program at Wake Tech, and they can then transition into a free year of membership at the Chamber to help them network and connect their business, participate in our learning opportunities, our professional development opportunities, connect with potential customers as they continue to grow and scale their business. You know, we at the Chamber have remained very committed to the small business community in the greater Raleigh region, because we recognize how vitally important they are, not only as job creators, but to the fabric of our community. You know, our small businesses drive the culture, and the culture is what attracts the large companies and the talent into the market that's going to support the large companies. So you can't have one without the other.
Christopher, it has not escaped me that both Adrian and Scott have mentioned institutions of higher learning as they talk about how to build an economy. Say a little bit about the role post-secondary education plays in economic development in North Carolina.
Absolutely. Post-secondary education institutions, whether those are our 2-year community colleges, whether those are our 4-year research universities, whether those are our HBCUs, they all have a seat at the table when we're trying to make that argument about North Carolina from a talent standpoint. Remember, the way that companies are going to find their workforce, it's oftentimes going to be in partnership with some of these institutions, whether it's with an internship that they collaborate together with a 4-year university on, whether it is customized training that is done in partnership with the local community college. These are indispensable assets that companies can tap into when they decide to locate or even expand in North Carolina. So at a minimum, we want those institutions to be at the table joining us in that team effort that Adrian talked about to make that pitch for why North Carolina, why Raleigh, why wherever is the best location from a talent and workforce standpoint.
It's my understanding that in some ways that's baked into the DNA of North Carolina, that our post-secondary institutions really are always willing to raise their hands. Is that your experience too, Scott?
It is, and I also see that they collaborate. In Eastern North Carolina, ECU has a pharmaceutical program, and recently Golden Leaf provided funding for them to be able to develop a partnership with five of the community colleges that are in the surrounding communities around ECU for the students to be able to go into the community college, get a degree, certifications in biopharma and pharmaceutical studies, and be able to be employed or go directly to ECU and further their degree and then enter the workforce. That partnership is critical to assure that there is that talent and the labor supply for all of these companies that come to North Carolina, the companies that are already in North Carolina, that are all looking to grow and to hire a skilled workforce. It's going to take that type of partnership and collaboration for us to be able to supply that labor.
Christopher, Adrian, Scott, thank you for what you do every single day to make our state a better place to live. We are indebted to you. Tell us what your community is doing or how we can help you. You may email us at ncimpact@unc.edu or message us on Twitter or Facebook. And be sure to join us every Friday night at 7:30 on PBS North Carolina for new episodes of NC Impact. Coming up on NC Impact, the housing boom is shutting many would-be homeowners completely out of the market. We find out what communities are doing to help increase the number of houses.
NC Impact is a PBS North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government. Funding for NC Impact is made possible by
changing the course of people's lives. That's the impact UNC Health and the UNC School of Medicine work to deliver every day. Our 40,000 team members across the state of North Carolina are committed to caring for you, our patients and communities, as well as educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. Individually, we can do a little, but collectively, we can do a lot to create impact.